Today on ZZZ Made Easy, we're talking about Miyabi, our first playable Void Hunter and Chief of Section 6. This video was made in collaboration with Hoyoverse. I was invited to participate in the creator beta server to make this guide. The footage shown is not the final product. For example, there are no sound effects present. It also showcases some new features we're getting, such as the separate decibels between agents. Things may be subject to change, and if they do, I'll make a note in the description and my pinned comment. Thank you Hoyoverse for this opportunity. In this guide, we're going to cover Miyabi's main mechanics, how to build her, and some teams you can utilize Miyabi in. At the end of the main guide, we'll also cover some extra tidbits about the kit. Now Miyabi is an S-Rank Frost Anomaly Agent. The first and only Frost attribute comes with a unique Frost Anomaly bar, and unlike normal Anomaly Agents, Miyabi will actually be building crit rate and crit damage. They are not just extra bonus stats this time. Miyabi's flashy moves don't require any crazy execution to do, but she has a fairly high skill ceiling due to some on-the-fly decision making you're going to have to do. My goal is to help you get started with the basics so you can go and experiment on your own. Before things get complicated, I want to showcase the love the devs have put into this character. First off, Miyabi's blue fiery hair is just part of her naturally. Her signature W engine's visual effect is a permanent fire on her scabbard, and Miyabi's sword will now glow blue for all attacks. To show off Miyabi's speed, she has a unique dash. Mash or hold the dodge button for a super fast extended dash. You can use it twice back to back like the normal dodge cooldown. If you can't close the gap, Miyabi is also able to block projectiles. In fact, just because she's so badass, during her 5th basic attack, Miyabi blocks any incoming hit. This lasts the entire time the slashes are on the screen. I was told this does have a sound effect, but sadly it's not available for this server. Moving on, the first thing to understand about Miyabi is her unique Frost attribute. It comes with a separate Frost Anomaly bar on enemies, however, once it fills up, it will trigger Freeze, Shatter, and Frostbite like the normal Ice Anomaly. In addition, for the purpose of damage calculations and buffing, Frost will benefit from anything that affects ice damage. For example, Miyabi wants to still get bonus ice damage drive discs, and if something like Freedom Blues increases Ice Anomaly buildup, this will also increase Frost Anomaly buildup. Now the Frost version of Freeze and Shatter appear to work the exact same as any regular Ice Anomaly. However, the Frostbite status that lingers is different. Miyabi's Frostbite will still boost incoming crit damage by plus 10%, I believe. The main difference is that this Frostbite lasts for 20 seconds instead of the normal 10 seconds. From in-game descriptions and what I was told, nowhere was it mentioned that this is intended. I'm unsure if this is a bug or a feature that is coming to the final release, but it does have major implications on parts of Miyabi's kit. One thing it affects is disorder damage. Disorder uses time remaining as part of its calculation. Triggering disorder with 18 seconds remaining versus 8 seconds remaining is a sizable difference. On top of that, Miyabi's Frost Disorder appears to have a different multiplier than the normal Ice or Freeze Disorder. I don't know the exact numbers, but it is definitely higher, and then it's further boosted because the Frost Anomaly lasts for 20 seconds. Hopefully, all of these details stick for the final release. With Frost covered, let's talk about Miyabi's core passive. When Miyabi deals Frost damage to foes, she applies Icefire for 30 seconds. This marks enemies with a blue fire effect. Against foes with Icefire, Miyabi's Frost Anomaly buildup will increase directly based on her crit rate stat. If Miyabi has 80% crit rate, she gets plus 80% Anomaly buildup. 80% is going to be the max bonus from the core passive. Next, when Miyabi fills her Frost bar and triggers Frostbite on a foe with Icefire, she will consume Icefire. In exchange, Miyabi deals Frostburn Break, which is a one-time damage proc for 1500% attack at core passive level F. At the same time, the foe will enter the Frostburn state. Just to be clear, Frostbite occurs the same time Freeze occurs, meaning Miyabi will freeze, trigger Frostburn Break, and then Shatter can happen after. Frostburn Break does not scale with Anomaly proficiency, but it can crit. After this damage occurs, the foe will enter the Frostburn state, and it lasts the same amount of time as Frostbite. Frostburned foes will take plus 20% more Anomaly buildup, but Miyabi cannot reapply Icefire until Frostburn is gone. To bring it all together from the top, Miyabi's Frost damage applies Icefire, which then increases her Frost buildup based on crit rate. Once the bar is full, we trigger Freeze, Frostbite, and consume Icefire in exchange for Frostburn Break's one-time damage proc. The foe can be shattered, and for the next 20 seconds, they now take plus 10% crit damage and plus 20% Anomaly buildup from any element. Normally, this sounds very good, except Miyabi has now gone from potentially 80% bonus Anomaly buildup down to 20%. In addition, because she cannot reapply Icefire during Frostburn, even if you fill the bar again, you do not get a Frostburn break. Remember how Miyabi's Frostbite lasts for 20 seconds? Well, that means no Frostburn break damage for 20 seconds. To put it plainly, even if that 20-second timer is not intended, Miyabi is not meant to spam Frostburn and Shatter alone for her main damage. She's not going to be like Jane, who wants as many assault procs as possible. If you do refill the Frost bar, Miyabi can still trigger Freeze and Shatter, but that's going to be harder due to losing out on the bonus build-up rate. Now, the purpose of the plus 20% anomaly build-up for Frostburn from any element is that it affects the entire team. If you can trigger another anomaly, that would trigger Disorder and remove Frostburn. Miyabi can then reapply Icefire, get faster build-up herself, and get Frostburn break damage once again. Frost Disorder, or Frostburn Disorder, having that higher multiplier is another indicator that Miyabi's true calling is a Disorder-focused team. I know that was a lot, but there is one more part to the core passive. Upon triggering Frostburn Break, Miyabi will get 1 point of Fallen Frost. This effect can occur every 10 seconds. Unless you trigger Disorder though, the 10-second cooldown will not matter. The purpose of Fallen Frost is being used for Miyabi's highly real move, Shimotsuki. In the upper left, Miyabi can hold up to 6 Fallen Frost stacks. If she has 2 stacks, you can hold basic attack and Miyabi will start charging up. Miyabi has 3 charge levels, each costing 2 Fallen Frost each. It should go without saying, but the level 3 Shimotsuki does big damage, it has massive AoE, and it has immense stagger capabilities. It's just a pure visual treat. Gaining stacks is going to be the hardest part for this move. While charging, Miyabi is fully invulnerable, so you do not need to worry about timing at all. After she unleashes the level 3 Shimotsuki, you're free to swap to another agent. This animation lasts for so long, Miyabi will still be around after the ultimate cut-in of her allies, so I'm sure we're going to get some crazy wipeout screens in the near future. Do note, Shimotsuki does decent anomaly build-up. If you want to swap early, Miyabi's not going to trigger Frostburn with this move. Sometimes it's going to be better to stick on Miyabi until it finishes. To further buff Shimotsuki, you want to activate Miyabi's additional ability. Miyabi requires a support agent or a Section 6 member. Yanagi and Sokaku say hello. With this ability, Shimotsuki deals plus 60% damage. In addition, when anyone triggers Disorder, Miyabi will gain 2 points of Fallen Frost, and her next Shimotsuki will shred 30% of the foe's ice resistance. Another reason you want a Disorder team is because Miyabi gets to use her high damage flashy move more often. To no surprise, Yanagi's Polarity Disorder will count as a trigger for this ability. Miyabi and Yanagi are pretty disgusting when played together. Now, there are 2 more ways to get Fallen Frost points. The main source is going to be Miyabi's EX Special. This move costs 40 energy and can be cast a second time for another 40 energy. Miyabi gets 2 Fallen Frost for each use, and she's fully invulnerable during the entire animation. EX Special does good anomaly buildup, so ideally save it for when Icefire is active. When Miyabi uses her ultimate, she gets 3 Fallen Frost points. She also gets plus 30% ice damage for the next 12 seconds. Another damage boost for Shimotsuki, although the 30% ice damage will apply to the ultimate as well. As an anomaly agent, this ult does excellent anomaly buildup, but it also does good damage. For reference, the ultimate does about 4,700% attack at level 12. To exert dominance, Shimotsuki at level 3, charge, does 4,200% attack. You then have to factor in the 60% increased damage and ice red shred from the additional ability. Good lord. For Miyabi's gameplay loop, she has 2 main goals. 1. Gain Fallen Frost stacks to unleash the level 3 Shimotsuki. 2. Trigger Frostburn to help allies set up their own anomalies and thus trigger Disorder. Disorder procs grant Fallen Frost, and that loops back to goal number 1. With these things in mind, let's go through some examples to help your decision making. Reminder, Frostburn Break grants 1 Fallen Frost point, EX Special grants 2 per cast, and Ultimate grants 3. With basic math, we need to figure out how to get to 6 points. Miyabi starts off with 3 Fallen Frost. If you EX Special a small mob, you will likely trigger Frostburn Break. This grants 3 Fallen Frost, allowing you to use Shimotsuki to clean up the rest of the wave. Against stronger elites or bosses with 2 points on hand, if you have the energy, you can just EX Special twice for 4 points and then Shimotsuki. Shimotsuki does decent buildup, but you cannot swap off Miyabi until you see Frostburn trigger. Anomalies won't trigger if your agent's off field. Now, if you're a fan of swapping early from Shimotsuki, the best time to do it is going to be right after triggering Frostburn. At this point, Miyabi wants her teammates to clear Frostburn with Disorder. Shimotsuki is mainly being used for its damage, and Miyabi is invulnerable, so you may as well start attacking with your next agent. When it comes to ultimate usage, Miyabi can use it as a way to trigger Frostburn to keep disorder chains going. The 3 Fallen Frost points also help, since the 1 point from triggering Frostburn is a bit awkward to deal with. If the ultimate can trigger disorder and Frostburn, that's going to be 6 Fallen Frost right there. If you're close to a stun phase, consider saving ultimate and try to get 40 energy. Also, try to clear Frostburn with your other anomalies. After a chain attack, Miyabi can ultimate, then EX special and basic attack if needed. If you can trigger Frostburn, you can go from 0 Fallen Frost to 6 points, and then Shimotsuki during the stun duration. This is not a must-do combo, it all depends on how much Fallen Frost you have going into the chain attack. If you were to trigger Disorder, you don't even need an EX special. Even if foes have Frostburn during the stun phase, I would still unload all of Miyabi's attacks, treat her kinda like an attack agent. Moving into the build section, let's cover what stats Miyabi wants and why. Unlike other anomaly agents, Miyabi needs to build crit. Shimotsuki and Ultimate have excellent damage multipliers which are based on attack and they can crit. Frostburn Break can also crit. From her core passive, crit rate directly turns into bonus anomaly buildup. Because Miyabi still shatters, she wants anomaly proficiency, and this also affects the Frostburn disorder, which can do pretty good damage itself. Miyabi splits her damage between direct damage, which benefits from critical hits, and anomaly/disorder triggers, which benefit from anomaly proficiency. Leveling her core passive grants a total of plus 90 AP. This allows her to focus on building crit stats, and any extra AP would just be a good bonus. Naturally, she wants more attack and ice damage where possible, but what about Anomaly Mastery? Stick a pin in this, we'll come back to it shortly. For W engines, Miyabi is in a similar situation as Caesar, where her signature is the only option with the main stat she wants, at least for her class type. Hailstorm Shrine has a plus 24% crit rate main stat. It grants a passive plus 50% crit damage, and on EX special cast or when anomaly triggers on a foe, gain plus 20% ice damage stacking 2 times for 15 seconds. Fairly self-explanatory. If Miyabi uses 1 EX special and can trigger Frostburn, you get 40% ice damage. She can also use 2 EX specials, which works with her follow-up cast. Worth noting, if allies trigger anomalies, that will also count for a stack, natural synergy with disorder comps. Without her signature, Miyabi can do still okay with the 2 craftable anomaly W engines. Weeping Gemini has an attack main stat, and any anomaly trigger grants bonus AP. I think this is better than Rainforest. If you have the Battle Pass Electro Lip Gloss, you get 75 AP up front, and then anomalies are active, you get 10% attack and 15% damage. For those of you with Grace's signature, Fusion Compiler, it's just a decent stat stick. You get the higher base attack, and then you get 12% in combat attack. You also get 24% pen ratio. These all affect crits and anomaly related effects. Fusion Compiler can also grant AP on special usage. If you go with one of the craftable or battle pass or even another agent's signature W engine, you're gonna need a ton of crit rate from your drive disc. For my setup, I actually only had 1 crit rate substat, but I had a lot of anomaly proficiency, crit damage, and percent attack substats. In my situation, I got better results using a non-anomaly crit rate main stat W engine. Among the A ranks, the only current option is the battle pass attack W engine, Cannon Rotor. However, coming in version 1.4, we were going to get access to a free reward crit rate W engine. From the Into the Pale Wasteland event, you can get the Mercado Desire Attack W engine. It has a 20% crit rate main stat. If you severely lack crit rate from your drive disc, try this one out. You can also, of course, use any S-Rank crit options you got too. Drive discs are pretty set in stone. If you have excellent crit rate or just crit and anomaly substats, then by all means you can run 2-piece Polar Metal, Chaos Jazz / Freedom Blues, or Hormone Punk. The new Astral Voice set also grants plus 10% attack. For those of you without God tier RNG, you're probably going to want 2-piece Woodpecker Electro for plus 8% crit rate. For Miyabi's 4-piece set, in version 1.4, she gets a set tailor-made for herself. Branch and Blade Song grants 16% crit damage for its 2-piece. If you have 115 Anomaly Mastery, you gain an extra plus 30% crit damage, so 46% total. When any squad member triggers Freeze or Shatter, the user gets 12% crit rate for 15 seconds. Remember our question about building Anomaly Mastery? Well, guess how much AM Miyabi has naturally? 116. This feels like a clear indicator that the devs are saying, you don't need to build any more Anomaly Mastery. Miyabi has just enough to proc Branch and Blade Song's free crit damage. Thanks to her core passive's crit rate to build up rate conversion, I don't think you need Anomaly Mastery as a Partition 6 main stat. While it would make for faster Frostburns and it's not a bad choice, remember, Miyabi is still critting and doing damage directly. An attack percent main stat for Petition 6 boosts her crits and Shatter/Frostburn disorder damage. For Petition 4, you can do crit rate main stat as an obvious choice, but you could also do crit damage or percent attack depending on your crit substats. For Petition 5, I would go ice damage, but attack percent or pen ratio can also work depending on your teammates. If you don't want to wait to get a well-rolled branch and blade song 4-piece, I would go with 4-piece woodpecker or polar metal. Polar metals boost basic attacks, and Shimotsuki is considered a basic attack. When it comes to teams, I tried out a bunch of different setups, and my conclusion is that A. Miyabi Yanagi is disgusting, and B. Miyabi is pretty flexible depending on what other agents you like to play. First off, as mentioned earlier, Yanagi's Polarity Disorder gives Miyabi 2 Fallen Frost stacks. This unlocks a completely unhinged playstyle of back-to-back Shimotsukis extremely often, and Yanagi's Polarity Disorder benefits from the high Frostburn disorder damage. A big benefit of running Yanagi is that you can slot in a non-support agent in the 3rd slot. For example, defense agents such as Caesar or Seth can go here. I mainly use Sokaku though, since she buffs ice damage further, and if you run 4-piece Freedom Blues, that also benefits Miyabi's Frost buildup. For other Disorder teams, when paired with Bernice, as expected, excellent Disorder synergy. Bernice's off-field burn capabilities let Miyabi stay on field. This means more energy for more EX specials and thus more Shimotsukis. You could run Sokaku, but any support will work here. Lucy's just fine for the team attack buff. For those of you that may just be starting Zenless Zone Zero recently, if you want to try out Disorder, your best bet is going to be Piper, since she's an A-rank unit you can get at any time from the gacha. It's tough to keep Piper's addition ability active since Miyabi moves last quite a good bit, but if you want to have it, you're going to need to pair up with Lucy for the Sons of Caledon condition. The last main double anomaly comp is with Grace. She works fine, but if you want Grace and Miyabi's addition abilities, you have to use Rina. Now, because Miyabi does a good amount of crit-based damage, you can treat her like an attacker by pairing her with a stun and a support. I was actually very impressed with how much I liked running a stunner, and then there are some great team possibilities that can build up their own anomalies at an okay rate. First off, Lekon plus Sokaku for ice. These two have various ice damage buffs, and ice anomaly can trigger disorder with frost. When it comes to fire teams, Lighter plus Lucy felt really good. Lighter's damage buffs are excellent, and the extra stun time is great for Miyabi's long duration burst moves. For the electric team, Chingy plus Rina do pretty solid Nanami buildup, and Chingy's increased stun multiplier would just amplify Miyabi's burst. Last team I want to talk about is Bernice plus Lighter. Unfortunately, Miyabi loses her addition ability in this comp, and you would think that's kind of a huge blow considering Bernice is great for disorder, which would have meant more Shimotsuki chances. Well, I thought the same until I managed to kill the Battle Tower floor 24 boss in a minute flat. Lighter buffing 2 strong damage dealers while bringing some extra stun power can be great in certain matchups. I had my doubts about Lighter actually working with Miyabi, but I am now a firm believer in this pairing, whether it's Lighter Lucy or Lighter Bernice. How does that guy just keep getting cooler, man? Now for the after party tips section, I want to share some extra info in a more casual manner. For Miyabi's basic attack string, she can skip to her first basic by replacing it with a dash attack, a regular special, and then after finishing her 5th basic string. Miyabi's 3rd basic has her doing a 180 to face the camera, but several of her moves will skip to her alternate 3rd basic instead. After doing EX special, ultimate, or any of her Shimotsuki moves, doing a basic attack after will make Miyabi do a 1-2 slash. This replaces her 180 turnaround and will go into her 4th basic attack. Miyabi's dodge, counter, and quick assist are the same animation. I don't know what it is, but it's a super satisfying move to do, and I don't even have the sound effects yet. Now after triggering both of these moves, Miyabi will skip to her 4th basic attack. At the start of the video, I talked about Miyabi's 5th basic being a full-on parry. Well, her 4th basic side-to-side movement also has full iframes. This means doing 4th and then 5th basic together is almost 100% safe. You can get caught in between inputs, but generally that hasn't been an issue for me. Now since dodge, counter, and quick assist both transition to the 4th basic, this means Miyabi has some ridiculous iframe combos. You can dodge counter, 4th basic, 5th basic, and this is a totally safe combo. Since EX Special and Shimotsuki have full invulnerability, you can use those moves at any point during the setup and Miyabi has total safety. If you hold dodge with a direction, Miyabi can do her unique dash and get perfect dodge to trigger. If you mistime the perfect dodge, Miyabi will create some distance. If you get the timing though, you can dodge counter and she's going to warp right back to the enemy. You can do this if you're unsure about incoming attack timings or if you just want to look cool. Now last iframe move I want to talk about is Miyabi's regular special. Not sure if this is intended, but I've been able to not take damage if I time the regular special correctly. This one is very finicky, and I wouldn't say it's that useful. You should just do a perfect dodge, then dodge counter instead. Last thing I want to talk about is a difference in playstyle for Miyabi. One detail I did not mention earlier about the core passive is that when Frostburn is active, triggering another anomaly overwrites Frostbite and removes Frostburn. This includes overriding one Frostbite with a second Frostbite, specifically from Miyabi. It's not a disorder trigger, but by triggering a second Frostbite back to back, Miyabi removes Frostburn herself, so she can apply Icefire while the next Frostbite is active. Basically, the first Frost buildup is faster and you get Frostburn break. The second buildup is slower and no break damage. The third buildup goes back to being faster with break damage. Fourth is slower, no break, etc, etc. This is an awkward sequence if you just want to main Miyabi with no disorder triggers being focused on. Mindscape 1 will fix this issue. Part of its effect is that the level 3 Shimotsuki will now remove the Frostburn state. You now always want to use Shimotsuki after triggering Frostburn so you can cleanse it and then reapply Icefire immediately. Essentially, Miyabi will always be able to have her higher build-up bonus, and you can get the break damage on every fill-up of the anomaly bar. No disorder needed, and no need to wait 20 seconds for the Frostbite to naturally end. To pair with this full-on filled Miyabi maining, Mindscape 2 grants 1 Fallen Frost point on the 5th basic attack use. This is just a pure quality of life improvement for your disorder teams, but it's also just a way to build Fallen Frost for pure on-field usage. I would say going for the signature W engine is just fine for Miyabi, but if you want a pure on-field playstyle, then M1 and M2 are gonna offer you just that. The first playable Void Hunter certainly lives up to the hype, at least for me. Miyabi is a true hybrid damage dealer, although she leans a little more towards crit despite being an anomaly agent. Her interactions with Disorder empower her strongest move, so Miyabi certainly benefits from good anomaly knowledge and setup. If you have Yanagi, things are gonna get a bit crazy, but Miyabi is very usable with other teammates. The introduction of the Frost attribute is an interesting addition for the game. Is this going to be a Void Hunter exclusive type thing, or are the devs going to expand on other branching attributes from the main selection? It certainly spices up anomaly gameplay, that is for sure. That's all I have to say about Miyabi. Thank you once again, Hoyoverse, for the opportunity to test her out early. It was an incredible experience. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.